Well, it's been a long time since we caught up with you guys, but I'm going to tell you, this guy is now a legitimate project. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. We're still at the point of trying to get this guy put back together and get him into the truck. So I've been studying other things such as where to put the battery. I think I've come up with an idea on that. And I've also got some work to do on studying this gas tank to see whether or not it might work. I really hate to have anything other than just the bed back in here, but I think I'm going to have to relent and go with a gas cap in the middle of that bed in the back there. So we're going to study that a little bit further. I'll keep you involved with that. I've got a list of things that I've been doing that are outside the scope of the truck, and you can see I've gotten very few of those items done, but we got a bunch of things that we need to do. One of them is need to get my lawnmowers ready for the cutting season. So I'm gonna put it into time lapse, and then got some oil that I found in that little antique unit up there, so I'm thinking that might be straight 30 weight. I'm not too worried about the oil that I put into these things. That motor there is probably closing in on 30 years old. So, you know, if it goes kaput, it goes kaput. I need to buck up and get a new lawnmower at that point. But we're going to service this thing and have it ready for the summer, and we'll get that snow plow stuff. You saw that all worked out real well. Didn't need it much more after that, so we'll put that guy to bed after we get the lawnmowers all serviced back in the shed. And so to time lapse we go, and time to get some spring chores squared away. All right, that was a pretty good little work session. Got the riding lawnmower all serviced, cleaned the deck up and sharpened the blades. Same for the little red lawnmower, that push mower that you saw. The green one doesn't get much use. In fact, I probably didn't need to change oil in it. It looked pretty good coming out. Couldn't find a darn drain plug on that rascal. Anyway, got it down and looked at the blade. The blade was sharp, so we will, I just put oil back in it and we will use it for whenever it gets used this year. I'm gonna take a little bit of a break and maybe get into working and servicing a couple of other items that need some things done before the spring. I've got a chainsaw that needs its chains sharpened, and as well a backpack blower that seems to be running lean and has no set screws on it, so I'm going to take the carburetor all apart and see if I can find some blockage in there and clean it out and see if I can get it to run better. So, see you on the other side. All right, so as I said before, I've got a couple other pieces of machinery to try to get into operating order. I've got a backpack blower that it just runs lean. Then there's no set screws on the carburetor or anything like that. I'll take the carburetor off and look through the ports and see if there's anything that is dirty and needs cleaning. I don't know, could be something as simple as the filter in the gas tank, but I don't think so, because I can feel that when I push on that bulb to prime it, that it doesn't feel overly restricted. So I don't think that's the case. I'm going to take the carburetor off and we will see whether or not I can find maybe something in there that's clogged. So see you on the other side. All right, I don't think I accomplished much. Everything looked pretty clean and decent in the carburetor. I just kind of blew through all the ports. Maybe I get lucky, we'll see. But again, there's no adjustment on the carburetor and it's been running real lean, and not sure what I need to do to ripen it up or rich the motor up a little bit. But we'll give this a try and see what happens. If I'm successful, I'll be jumping for joy. See you in a little bit.
I'm not going to waste your time with a whole bunch of video that I shot of working on this thing, starting it and what have you. What I eventually ended up doing was getting a different carburetor. It arrived from Amazing Zone with one of the bolts sheared out of the head of it. And I worked and worked and worked on that thing. Finally, what I ended up doing was taking a cutting wheel, cutting a slot in what I found to be a set screw for the fuel coming into the carburetor, and we got things to work. So let's cut to the chase and take that video on from this point forward.
All right, folks, after a whole lot of consternation, we've got it figured out. We got this guy working, and what I found was I knew it was just running lean. It was, I couldn't get the set screw to work right. As soon as I'd crank out on it just a little bit to try to enrich in the fuel, in the air-fuel mixture ratio in the carburetor, it would flood out, and it was just flooding like crazy. But for whatever reason, that fuel was just being starved at the motor when you'd start it up and run for a little bit. Well, flow cannot happen if you got suction in the gas tank. And I knew that, and I looked at this cap here. Let me go ahead and take this guy off and take it apart. because inside here there's a little diaphragm that I'll show you, and I mean air just cannot flow through that sucker. And so what was happening is when the motor would run, it would draw fuel out of the gas tank, it would draw a suction into the gas tank itself. That thing's got to have air. And what they did on Husqvarna when they put these together, so you can see there's a couple little air holes right there. I actually reamed those guys out a little bit using a little pipe cleaner, this guy here. And I made it a couple sizes bigger than what they were, the holes in here. You gotta have air getting into that gas tank. So yeah, I just ran that sucker through there a number of times and just reamed those holes out, because those are air breather holes. And like I say, air's got to get through there. So what they got in the cap itself, it still won't breathe. But let me take this apart. I am going to eliminate this one-way rubber valve they've got in this piece. But this guy in here is a one-way valve. I'll push him out the other way, because I'm gonna take him out altogether. There he is, he's out of there. But he's a one-way valve like that. And I reamed that sucker out good. It still doesn't breathe the way I want it to. And I noticed with it gone and the motor running, there's not gas coming out the gas filler cap. So I'm just gonna take that sucker out altogether. Put that all back together in here. It just snaps into place. This snaps onto there. Again, you got air breather holes going straight out, a little hole there, and I can actually see daylight. I'm gonna try to line that up for you. Maybe turn this around toward the light. See if we can see. Yeah, you can see there's some light through that hole. And I can definitely breathe air through that. So let's go take this over. We know that we're not going to build suction up in the gas tank anymore. Put that sucker back in. Put it on. All right, so somehow I got home last night, thought I had video of the backpack blower running and running well, and didn't have that clip. So I have to come down the next day, start this thing up and show you that it actually works. So we got it outside here, choke to it. There we go. All right, well today what we're going to do is we're going to try to sharpen the chainsaw. That's not cutting wood very well, but when I check the dogs, they feel really sharp. But I think what the problem is there's what they call a lead dog on this guy. You see where that comes up like that? What that does is that keeps that chain from grabbing too much wood on that bit, on that cutting surface. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a flat file and just touch these guys down about 2 or 3 strokes each to bring it down a little bit, because it's kind of what they call a guide dog on that chain to keep from cutting too much wood at any given time. Again, these guys feel real sharp, and I think these guys, the dogs here, the guide dogs, the lead dogs, whatever you want to call them, on that chain are just too high, not allowing that cutting surface to do much good. Let's demonstrate what it's doing right now, and then we'll see what it does after I'm done. All right, so you can see that it's not cutting very well. It's getting hot. You see the smoke down there on the wood itself when I'm trying to make that cut. Guess I'm going to have to admit to you as to how dumb I am. The blade, I think, is on backwards. Let's turn it around and give it a try. By backwards, I mean this. This is the top of the bar. The blade should not face the top on the should not face the saw on the top. The blade needs to be going that direction so that when it comes down here, it goes that direction. Duh.
right, as a means of finishing this video off, I think I've found a new purpose for this channel. And it is, if I make the mistakes and I show you, then it'll keep you from making the same ones. So cheers, folks. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.